Yeah. So now if you'll observe here, so some of the, due to some reasons, maybe atmospheric changes, or else maybe they cannot survive on this earth. They are unable to reproduce. They are unable to not. They are losing the capacity to produce their future species because of certain reasons, or maybe over usage of something. These all the reasons. Understanding they are slowly disappearing from this earth, and one day finally they are going to extend from this earth. That is what. So in this chapter, we'll discuss the various methods of reproduction in plants and animals, how the plants are continuing their future species, how these animals are producing. So these all the things we will study in this chapter. That is what is how do organisms reproduce. So if you'll see here, in this chapter, mainly all of you remember the existing organisms, or we can say organisms, are called parents. What we used to call, guys? The existing, already existing organisms are the living organisms. We used to call it as what? Parents. Do you understand, everybody? So everything, not only humans are parents, everything is called as parents only. Now, whatever the new organisms are producing by them, they are only called as what we used to call, as I said already, what we used to call, guys? Offsprings, we can say.
Offspring.
Who are living already on this earth, whatever it is, plants or animals, everything, already existing organism is called as parents, and organisms, new organisms are producing. These new organisms only what we used to call, guys? We used to call it as
Offspring.
offsprings. That is what you have to remember. So, example, if we take our father and mother, they are called as what? We used to call it as what? Our father and mother, what we used to call?
Parents.
Called as father.
Parents.
Parents. Yes or no? Father, and if you take mother, and they are called as parents. Now, if you take now their children, for example, you can consider. So now you consider your children. So maybe it is a girl child or boy child. So their children is called as what? We used to call it as
Offspring.
offsprings. That is what
Offspring.
remember. Understand? The parent or parents of the organism. Some offsprings having maybe single parent. Understand? And some offsprings having maybe two parents. Means one male and female. That is based upon the organism. It will be changes. That is why we can say either the parent or maybe parents. So you can see here the parent or parents of the organisms can be animals as well as it may be what? It may be either animals or maybe plants also. Do you understand it? So plants also the same thing will take place, and animals also it will take same thing. Do you understand, everybody? So now if you'll see here, always remember, so you can see all now we are going to study what is the types of reproduction. Understanding, guys? That is what our next concept. So in this chapter, what we are going to study, who is called as parents and who is called as offsprings, how they are producing their offsprings by the existing parents or existing organisms, and what is the methods they are following. That is all we'll discuss in this chapter. That is for what? Both animals and as well as what, guys? Plants. Now let us comes to the next concept which we are going to study is what is that, guys? Types of reproduction. So please all of you keep heading types of reproduction. So now let us comes to the what kind of types of reproduction we have. So now you can see we have a many different ways in which the new organisms are produced from the parents. There is no kind of a particular way. So based upon the parents, based upon the based upon the existing organisms, so they will change the way of producing their new offsprings. That is what we can say offsprings is varies. So now, so that is why we can say many different ways in which the new organisms are produced from their parents. For example, you can take some organisms like amoeba. So already I have taught you in the first chapter. So amoeba, how it will happen, guys? Is it there any parent in the amoeba? Anybody can answer? Is it a particular parent in their amoeba? Elmati? If you take amoeba, so as we know amoeba, what will happen? First chapter also people studied. So this is what you can take, for example, amoeba. So now amoeba, what will happen? By fission reaction, it will turn into what, guys? It will break into what? It will break into two individual species.
Two daughter cells.
Yes. So that is what it will turns into two. Again, these two become four, four will become like that. So amoeba is just what? It will split. Understanding? It will split into what? It will split into two parents and they will produce what? Two new amoeba. Is it yes or no, guys? That is what? So one amoeba, by splitting into two parents, they will form into what? Two amoebas it will form. Is it yes or no, guys? That is what you have to remember it. So if we take amoeba, I think spelling is wrong. AMOEBAE. This is what amoeba spelling. Is it yes, guys? So by amoeba, what will happen? Amoeba reproduce just by splitting, understanding, into two parents, and they will form two new amoebas. They will form. Again, these two new amoebas, what will happen? Again, they will splitting into two more, like that, continuing by splitting. So this is what the reproduction method in the amoeba. For example, if you take Hydra, what will happen, guys? Hydra plants you maybe see. Hydra, what is the reproduction method? If you take Hydra and as well as yeast, you can take yeast. So if you take there, they will grow out of the parent's body in the form of a bud. Is it yes or no? So for example, if you take, this is the parent, this is the parent. So now somewhere they will start growing, understanding, as a bud. What we can call? What we can call, guys, as a bud. So both in Hydra and yeast, they will grow out of the parent's body in the form of bud, so that this bud will grow like a new Hydra or new yeast. Is it yes or no, guys? That is what you have to understand. So in this Hydra, what is the reproduction method? Formation of budding. Yes or no? Like that, if you take birds. So if you take birds, what they will do, guys? Most of the birds, is there any bird which will give the birth to the babies directly? If you take birds, what they will happen? Arvind, they will hatch what? Birds. And if you take snakes also. So if you take birds and snakes, what they will do, guys? How they will come? Nobody will answer. They will hatch out of the eggs. Is it yes or no? They will lay the eggs and hatching, we can see. The process of getting babies from the eggs is called as hatching. What is to call? Hatching. Okay, guys. So now, if we take birds and snakes, they will hatch out the eggs. Understanding? Hatch out of the eggs, and they will form the new babies. But these eggs will come from where? They will laid by their parents only. Like that, if we take like human organisms, human babies, what they will do? They will produce the human babies, like that, lions and all, cubs we can say. So cubs, kittens, puppies, all born from their mother only. So each species of organism reproduce in different way. Is it yes or no, guys? If we take amoeba by splitting, if we take Hydra by formation of budding, if we take birds, they are laid the eggs, and if we take snakes also, they are laying the eggs. If we take humans, they are producing human babies. Cats, kittens, cubs, they are producing, puppies, they are producing. Like that, different organisms having different kind of reproduction method. Is it yes or no, guys? Based upon the parent. Yes or no? So each species of organism reproduce in a different way. So all the different ways of reproduction based upon the category, even though here we are having a different name. So all this reproduction, we can be dividing into two main groups. That is what the reproduction is going to classifying into two categories. What is that, guys? Can anybody say? Yes? Reproduction is
asexual reproduction and
two
sexual
categories. That is what? Very good. One is what? Asexual reproduction. Another one is what? Sexual reproduction. Clear, everybody? That is what. So, okay. So now, sexual reproduction, the second part of this chapter that we will study in the later. So now what we will study? Only at these classes, coming up classes, we will concentrate on asexual reproduction. Okay, guys. So now, you can say the living organisms reproduce mainly by how many methods, guys? The reproduction will carried out by, if it is a living organism, the method of producing their offsprings, either it will come under sexual reproduction or it will come under what? It will come under what, guys? It will come under asexual reproduction. Understanding? Sexual or asexual reproduction. That is what you have to understand. So you can observe here. So the new living organisms, it may be from the plants and animals. They can be made either by a method of asexual reproduction or by the method of sexual reproduction. So we cannot say only it will, sir, aquatic animals reproduce. How aquatic animals also reproduce? Kevin, that is also will study. Like fish and all, they will keep eggs only. Fish and all, they will lay the eggs. Is it okay, Kevin?
Okay, sir.
Yeah, that is. So now you can see here all the things, all the living plants and animals, everything they will produce their offsprings either by the method of asexual reproduction or sexual reproduction. So now we will discuss what is the meaning of this asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. So later we will study what is the types of this asexual reproduction and how these organisms, which kind of organisms will come under this, and all will study very in detail. So now, if you'll observe here, first of all, let us keep in mind certain organisms, if you'll take reproductive cell, that is what we can say, sex cells or gametes or germ cells we can say. So if some other organisms which do not contain these kind of reproductive cells in their bodies. So some organisms contains reproductive cell in their bodies, some organism does not contain reproductive cells in their bodies. So that is what you have to understand. So based upon this only, the reproductive cell only, we people are categorized what is asexual reproduction or what is sexual reproduction. Shall we start, guys? Everybody? Yes?
Yes, sir.
That is what.
Yes,
So
sir.
now you have to remember what? Reproductive cells. So some organisms is having reproductive cells. What do you mean by reproductive cells? So reproductive cells in the sense of they may be having what? Sex cells, or they may be having gametes. So these gametes also we can call it as what? Germ cells, we can say germ, understanding germ cells, Germ, germ cells. So this some bodies having these reproductive cells and some bodies may not have. So based upon this only will categorize either asexual or sexual reproduction. So now if you'll observe very carefully here, so let us come to the asexual reproduction, first one. So can anybody say what is asexual reproduction? So asexual reproduction means what, guys? Yes, please. Dina, Pranav.
Parent.
Yeah. So now if you'll observe here, in asexual reproduction, remember the offsprings means from the existing species, from the existing organisms, what is going to happen? Offsprings are coming. That is what we can say what, guys? New organisms. Yes or no? So from the existing organisms to the offsprings, they will arise from a single parent. From where? From single parent. Means two parents are not involved. More than one parent is not involved. That is what we can say as asexual reproduction. So from the single parent and offsprings are producing, then that is called as asexual reproduction. So now you can hear, if you'll see this asexual reproduction, is it they contains reproductive cells or not? Anybody can answer. Is it they contains reproductive cells?
No, sir.
No, that is what you have to understand. So, if you observe the asexual reproduction, the production of new organism from a single parent without involvement of sex cells or gametes or germ cells, that is what we used to call as asexual reproduction. So most of the times the definitions used to ask for 2-mark question when it is descriptive. So be very careful. What do you mean by asexual reproduction? Don't say it is coming from the single parent. Offspring is coming from the single parent. So what is the exact scientific definition? If there is no reproductive cells, means a parent does not contain any reproductive cells like sex cells or gametes or germ cells, then that is called as, what is called as, Arvind? It is called as asexual reproduction. Understand everybody?
Asexual reproduction.
Please write the definition. The production of new organism, the production of new organism, the production of new organism from a single parent, without involvement of what? Without involvement of
Reproductive cells.
Yeah. Without involvement of reproductive cells. That is what we can say. What is that reproductive cells means?
Sex cells and gametes.
Reproductive cells is called asexual reproduction. Is it clear, guys? Okay, that is what we can say. Now you can see here asexual reproduction. Why it is called as asexual reproduction means it does not use a special cells called sex cells or gametes for producing new organisms. That is the only reason. So the most important word is what? That it does not contain any kind of reproductive cells. So it will never use these reproductive cells. It might be having, but still it will never use to produce offsprings with the help of these reproductive cells. That is why it is called as asexual reproduction. Understand, guys? So in asexual reproduction, a part of the parent, understanding, the part of the parent organism separate off and grows into a new organism. So that is what it is called as asexual reproduction. So just one part which will separated from the parent. For example, if we'll consider Hydra only. Is it yes or no, guys? So if we'll take Hydra, so what will happen? Hydra plant will be like this. So it is used to produce what? It is used to produce budding. Understanding, new birds will produce. So now bud we can say. So bird. So this each bird will be separated out from the parent and it will grow into what? It will grow into a new organisms, new offspring. That is what we can say asexual reproduction. So from the parent, some part of the parent, they will separate off and they will grow into a new organism. That is what in asexual reproduction, only one parent is needed to produce new organisms. So is it required any involvement of two parents, guys? Here? No, because from the single parent, there is no male and female in what is that asexual reproduction? Only from the, we can say is a common as a parent. So from the parent, some part of this is separated out and it will grow into a new species. That is what we can say asexual reproduction. So now can anybody say what is the example of asexual reproduction? Amoeba, you can take example. But Hydra you can take. Next, rhizophos, fungus or bread mold we can say. Same way. Next one, flatworms. Yeah, flatworms, yeast. Next, like rose plants, you can see vegetative propagation of rose plants. Rose plants also there is no need two parents. Is it yes or no, guys? You can cut the plant and you can cut the branches of the rose plant and it will grow again. It will form a new tree. Is it yes or no, girls? Yes. That is what you have to remember. So this asexual reproduction is shown by a lot of living organisms in this earth. So that is why you can see here, there is no complexity of this asexual reproduction. Simply by some part of the parent, it is forming the, yeah, planaria. Yes, very good, Kevin. So that is all I will say. So it will forming the new kind of species. That is why we can say this is the simplest method of reproduction. So asexual reproduction is the simplest method of reproduction. It will take place mainly in those organisms whose bodies have a simple structure. That is what very important one. So it will carried out in asexual reproduction will take place in where, guys? The bodies, whose bodies having a simple structure. Understanding? So there is no complexity of like us. Understanding, our bodies is a complex body. So what do you mean by the simple bodies? Means like you can take a simple animals and simple plants like microorganisms. For example, bacteria, they will reproduce by asexual reproduction methods only. So this asexual reproduction takes place in mainly which kind of animals, guys? Anybody can say multicellular or unicellular animals?
Unicellular.
Unicellular. That is what I'm saying. So whatever you have studied, understanding, everything is unicellular only. So asexual reproduction will take place in unicellular animals and as well as under what? Under plants, and same way microorganisms. So these are the examples of what? asexual reproduction. All the unicellular animals and plants and as well as microorganisms like bacteria. So now you can take here a simple multicellular animals. Anybody can give the examples? Simple multicellular animals example. If we'll take Hydra and as well as Kevin said, planaria. So what is the planaria? Can anybody say? Planaria means what? What is another name? General name of planaria. This is what you all people are neat aspirants, this and all. What is the general name of planaria? Even I said you now also. Flatworm. What do you used to call? Flatworms we can say. Understanding? So on some multicellular plants also. So can anybody say what is the multicellular plants? Examples? Examples of then what you studied, Ra? Multicellular plants. Examples of asexual plants. Anybody can say multicellular plants. Example. Just now you studied correct rose plants. Yes or no? Rose plants are examples of what? Asexual reproduction. Next, yeah, bryophyllum. How many of you know bryophyllum? In our textbooks also you can keep. You people don't know. Government school if you'll go, bryophyllum, which is used to produce from the corners of the leaf. Have you noticed it, guys? Bryophyllum. Suppose the leaf will be like this.
Potato and all will be there, sir.
So if it is the bryophyllum leaf, so from the each corner new kind of species is to produce. Have you seen? Even when I'm a kid, we used to keep it in the inside the textbook, like some kind of belief that if you'll keep this one, we used to get good knowledge, like we will study well, like that we are having a belief. You people are not, but from the each edge, like we can say, it is used to produce a new kind of species, new kind of plant. This is what we can say, bryophyllum. Have you seen this kind of plant? Yes. That is images. Okay, I will show you.
Sure.
This is called as multicellular plants. Not only that, unicellular, some multicellular plants also like rose plants and bryophyllum and this all the things will form the asexual reproduction only. This is what? Asexual reproduction. Are you clear, everybody? What do you mean? What is the meaning of asexual reproduction? They will produce the new organisms from a single parent without the involvement of reproductive cells. That is what we used to say. Asexual reproduction. What is the meaning of reproductive cells, guys? You can use in place of reproductive cells. What we can use? We can use sex cells, or we can see gametes or so that is what we can say reproductive cells. So this is what asexual reproduction. So now after this I will stop the today's class. Then next we will study what is sexual reproduction, and same way we will study what is the types of asexual reproduction. We will continue from the asexual reproduction from the tomorrow. So with this I am going to stop. Hope you all understand. Any doubt today's class? Are you clear, everybody? Yes?
Yes, sir.
That's all. So thank you. We'll meet tomorrow.